What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, I still want to give some thanks to those who donated to me yesterday on my birthday. I want to give a shout out to Akil Fernando for the $10 donation via the PayPal, the Cash App. He says, ain't much but happy birthday, big bro. No, $10 is a lot, bro. Just the fact that you even donated is an honor to me. Salute to you, brother, for showing love. I truly appreciate it. I really, truly appreciate it, man. And glad you still subscribe to me, bro. Big shout out to the brother Elijah Merritt for the $50 donation via the Cash App. He says, happy birthday, big bro. Salute to you, brother, for showing love. Long-time subscriber. Been rocking with me since the beginning of the Golden State Warrior dynasty. Salute to you, brother, for showing love. Also want to give a shout out to the brother James Baker for the $10 donation via the Cash App. He says, happy birthday, brother. Salute to you, brother, for showing love. Long-time subscriber as well. So salute to all of you who showed love. And I wish you all the fathers out there had a great Father's Day. I hope your significant others or your children show the love that they should and appreciation that they should show you for being in your children's, for being in their lives. All right, so this is a via request. Took me a little while to get to this one. I got a lot of requests, man. I still got to knock out a lot of them. I've been bombarded with requests. So if I haven't got to you yet, I've seen it. I'm gonna knock them out. So this is what we do. We do a lot of hypothetical talk on here. There's no real answer to it, but we just like to do this. This is what we do on this channel. All right. So they wanted me to give my opinion on the easiest to hardest championships that Michael Jordan won with the Chicago Bulls, right? Now, of course, when you say easiest to hardest, it's all relative because none of them were easy. None of them were handpicked. He worked his ass off to win all of these NBA championships. Unlike some guys who the league actually had to interfere with excessive tomfoolery with calls and non-calls, to help give them an advantage that a further advantage that they already had. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I would say the easiest title that the Bulls had was probably against Magic and the Lakers, the Showtime Lakers. Number one, what helps to fuel that argument was the 4-1 spread. The one game that the Lakers won, which is I believe was a game that went into overtime. That's a game that was very winnable for Chicago. But ultimately, I believe they lost to a Sam Perkins 3-pointer, I think it was. But don't get me wrong. That was a really, really good Laker team. They upsetted Portland in the Western Conference Finals, if memory serves me correctly. But the Bulls were just a force to be reckoned with in that year. And in the playoffs, I believe the Bulls went 15-2 during that playoff run, which I believe is their best winning percentage in any particular playoff run, even better than the 96 Bulls. So I would say that one was the easiest out of the six from a relative perspective. Then I would say the next easiest would probably be 1996, the Seattle Supersonics. The Sonics won 64 games that year, which was the franchise record until the Thunder, who was the Sonics, won 68 games this year. Okay, so that Sonics team was loaded. And that Sonics team was the best defensive team in the NBA, if memory serves me correctly. Gary Payton was Defensive Player of the Year. Gary Payton led the league in steals that year. 2 years prior to that, Nate McMillan led the league in steals. That team was just a great all-around. It was a great perimeter defensive team, especially. But just in general, that team was a very good defensive team. But Despite the fact that Michael Jordan had his worst overall finals performance, and an argument could be made that at the very least, Dennis Rodman should have been co-finals MVP. The Bulls still, more or less, even though they made the adjustment to put Gary Payton on Mike, the Bulls still hopped out to a 3-0 lead in that series. And there was never any real doubt that Chicago was going to still win that series. So I would give them the advantage in that series. Now, I'm going to say something because people are going to say, well, wait a minute, Mike, because I'm going to say something about the 91 finals, going back to that. Someone's going to say, well, wait a minute, Mike. I thought you said that the Bulls were not favored to win their finals. They weren't going into it. Going into that finals, many people still felt that Magic Johnson's his experience and NBA Finals experience, and just his savvy and just being there and having gone through the grind so often, and many people thought the Bulls, the spotlight might be too much. A lot of times when teams go to the finals for the first time, there's a lot of jitters, and they can often make mistakes, right? But as the finals progressed, we saw that the Bulls were indeed the better team. Okay. Now, after that, I would say probably the 92 Portland Trailblazers. Portland was a really, really good team. Clyde Drexler was, I believe, a true MVP finalist, but Michael Jordan was the best player in the NBA at that time. And I think really after game one, when Michael torched them for 35 in the first half and 6 3-pointers, I think at that point in time, you can make an argument that although the series wasn't over, you kind of felt like, okay, the Bulls are probably going to win this series. It's just that performance created the separation needed. It ended the MVP discussion or argument between Mike and Clyde, because some people felt like, well, Clyde does all these other things. Maybe he should have won the MVP. And Mike just ended all of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Mike just ended it, and the Bulls went on, even though on paper you could argue Portland looked deeper, but the Bulls were just the better team, and they won that series rather easily. Matter of fact, their unit, the second unit, was very big in winning Game 6. As Michael Jordan had one of those rare games where, especially at that point in his career, where he actually kind of struggled in a game. Then I would say the next hardest, if I had to go through it, let me see, I said, let's see, I went through 91, 96, 92. Oh, man, I would probably say the 97 finals. That was a very close finals. I did a video recently saying how it's a game of inches, and how if Karl Malone makes those free throws in game one and Jordan misses that game winner, and if every other game goes the way they're supposed to go, then the Bulls would go down 3-1 in that series going into game 5. So that was a very, very close finals. Michael Jordan also had that flu game, which was another superhuman, heroic performance from him in the postseason, which added to his legend. But I would say that was a relatively difficult finals. And then afterwards, I would say probably the 93 finals. The Phoenix Suns were probably the toughest team that the Bulls played during their championship run. Their offensive rating was similar to the Golden State Warriors. the 2016 Warriors, and they had so many different. They had so many guys who were capable of lighting you up. You know, Charles Barkley, obviously, KJ. You had Richard Dumas, who was getting comparisons to Scottie Pippen. You had on that team also Tom Chambers, who just a couple of years earlier was dropping 27 a game, dropping 40, 50, 60-point games on different opponents. You know, that team, Dan Marley, the top 6 man in the league. So that team was loaded. Danny Ainge, a sharpshooter. That team was loaded offensively. They were a pretty decent defensive team, but more as far as with them was their high octane offense. And it took Michael Jordan having a superhuman, even by his standards, performance. The man averaged 41 points a game in that series. And not just 41 points, but he did it on 50% plus efficiency. When you take that many shots and to have that type of efficiency, the dude was a fucking Terminator, man. 41 points. I think he averaged 8 rebounds. I think he averaged something like 6 assists that series. Unbelievable. 2 steals. Dude was a beast, man. But I think the most difficult finals they had was 98. Because if you recall, the Bulls barely got through a grueling 7-game series against the Indiana Pacers, whereas Utah was absolutely just dismantling teams in the West. If I recall correctly, during that run, they knocked out, I can't remember who they beat in the first round. It might have been Portland that Utah beat in the first round. But I know in the second round, they beat the Spurs. They beat the Lakers. Now, mind you, the Lakers had 4 All-Stars that year. 4. Spurs have Duncan and Robinson. But people say that the Utah Jazz weren't beating anybody. They were beating everybody in the West. And they won 62 games that year. And they had home court advantage against the Bulls, which they didn't have in 97. And they were just waiting in the wings. I think they had over a week's rest against Chicago. Chicago looked tired. Chicago was the oldest team in the league. And we all know when you're old like that, you need rest. And the Bulls looked a little flat. And if I recall, the Bulls lost game 1 of that series. So it didn't look good for Chicago. It didn't look good at all. But the Bulls were able to eke out a championship. Now, I know it went 6 games, but it took Michael Jordan summoning all the strength and willpower and reserve that he had. Because in game 6, Scottie Pippen was done. If that series had gone to 7 games, it would have been over. They would have blitzkrieg Jordan. Pippen was done physically. Unless Tony Kukoc pulled out some miracle performance, the Bulls would have been done in game 7. So to me, game 6, what Michael Jordan did in that game was amazing. Amazing. So I would say the hardest was the 98 championship. But that's how I would rank it. Tell me what you guys think.